2009 Audi A3. And guy brought it in to do a rear main seal. Did the PCV valve also. He said he had a knock sensor and check engine light code, so we bought the knock sensor also. Here's the plug for it. It looks simple, right? One little bolt, one little plug, right? No big deal. So here's the plug, and if you follow it, you see it going under here. So it's going under the water pump. Find something I can point at this thing with. So there it is. See that crustiness right there? And there's your nut for it. And there's the plug. You can see it up under here. And so to get to that bad boy, this water pump has to be removed. This is the water pump, thermostat, all in one housing. Here's your oil filter on this engine, sits up top. You got your oil cooler, turbo, and everything's on the other side. So the oil cooler is fed directly into the water pump, and all this has to be removed to get to that knock sensor. Now the guy brought it to me. He said, oh, this knock sensor is easy, you just remove the intake. It's an easy intake to remove. It's got two of them. It's got one here, one there. I've done them before. Well, there is no knock sensor on this side, and there definitely ain't one back here. There's only one knock sensor, just like Audi said there was, and it's right up under here. It's buried up under, behind the water pump. And there's no way you're gonna get to it without removing the alternator, without removing the oil filter and cooler housing, water pump, hoses, everything, the whole assembly. All that has to get removed with all new gaskets. If you're gonna do that, might as well replace this water pump, right? It's got 150K on it already. And then you can get to this one little bolt on this knock sensor and get that check engine light to go away. So here we had to remove this, and then if you notice, it's got direct fuel injection, and it's got these little let's see if I can show you. It's got these little plastic rings that sit in here, and you can see how much oil's in here. It's nice and dirty all up inside of there. All that's got to get cleaned out now. Inside of all these got to get cleaned out. Now these three are like that, but this one's like permanently clamped in with some sort of clamp, and it has a regular style O-ring, fuel injector O-ring. And if you look over here on the back of the intake, you'll see the three where that little washer sits up against here. All the crud from the direct fuel injection in there. And then the last one over here is like a regular fuel injector O-ring. He got this gasket. So now this all needs to be cleaned and put back. oil filter, everything, put everything back. This intake is not an easy intake to remove. That's another thing. He says, oh, is this the easy intake to remove? So I went ahead and said, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll just go ahead and take care of that since I'm doing the transmission. Thinking it's just a couple little bolts, remove the intake. Nah, this intake's got bolts buried under here. Had one that was stripped out and rusty. I can show it to you. Where the hell did I put the rusty one? Look how rusty these things were coming out. So, like I said, not a fun one to remove. You got a bunch of carbon buildup inside of the valves. A lot of plugs and things that are just like really tight to work on. They'll have to be disconnected, and you're doing it facing from the bottom up. A lot of little hidden screws on the intake that attach to little brackets that are a pain in the butt. The hardest part, I would say, was this. You see this bolts down to the bottom there, and then it has a bolt in the bottom of the intake that sits through here, and you put a nut on the bottom side of it. And to get the intake out, because that nut, that bolt that comes down through there so long, you kind of have to lift. You try to lift the intake out, but it won't let you because it's hooked up to these bolts on both sides, so it won't let you lift it high enough to just slide it out and then pull out. So you end up having to release the nut from there, but then you also have to go ahead and remove that bolt from the bottom there, which is not a fun one to remove. Tell you what size it is. It's a M10, and it's a 12 point, not 6 point. Need a set of 12 points to work on this car, not 6 points. So yeah, you got to get in there and remove that. And then if you see the angle on it, so let's see if I can show you. You see it hiding under there? Well, these two hoses here, and here are in the way, and they line up perfectly in the way to where the ratchet needs to be. So then you're trying to finagle move them, but that hose is attached to this pipe that goes all the way back. So you got to be careful how you're finagling around all this. It's really tight quarters to get this bolt loose and cracked loose and put back. It's not a fun bolt to have to deal with. So, and then that is an important bracket for you to say, oh, we're just not going to put it back. No, because it keeps, anybody leans on the engine, it really supports the weight, keeping the intake supported up, other than the two little side bolts on the side. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to make the video too long, but don't let anybody tell you that this is a really quick, easy intake to remove on these 2.0 turbo 2009 Audi A3. It's the same for the A4s. Yeah, don't let anybody know the A4 has a different setup. The motor sits this way instead of horizontal. So anyways, I should have charged just to remove this and replace that knock sensor. I would have honestly charged the same I charged to do the transmission. It's a big job, requires a lot of hours, requires a new water pump, cooler, gaskets, everything. A carbon intake cleaning is recommended when done. These motors build up a lot of carbon in the intake, especially being that the PCV had never been replaced. It's definitely not a fun job, not one I would volunteer to do. I would price it really, really high. Can an A-level or a well-experienced B-level technician do the job? Yeah, if you absolutely had to, but it wouldn't be fun. And be prepared to just buy everything for the oil cooler, the water pump, thermostat, maybe even a couple hoses. A lot of the stuff is plastic and brittle and it breaks real easy. Give you an example right here. This is what happens when they run nothing but water in there. You see that? All that calcification. And then the plastic gets brittle and it snaps off. See where that snapped off there? That used to go there with the O-ring. All that broke off. So yeah, it's definitely not a fun job. I wasted my time tonight removing that intake gasket, that intake for no reason on a knock sensor. I went off what the guy said. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, it's real easy. Just need to remove the intake. It's an easy intake, and the knock sensor is just right there." And I kind of took his word for it because he's a friend of mine, and he does wrench and tinker a little. And he said he had done it before too. He said, "Oh yeah, I've done these before. There's 2 of them. There's one here that." He clearly hasn't done this one. Maybe another Audi similar, but not this one, because this one, like Audi said, only 1 knock sensor behind the water pump. Can't get to it. So now we got to clean all this, put it back, wasting more time tonight. I still have to do the radiator on this thing before I can go to bed. I could have already been done with the radiator if I would have just left this alone. I should have done the due diligence and done the research before I took it apart, instead of taking his word for it and trusting what he said. And then I would have seen for myself exactly what needed to be done to get to that knock sensor, and I would have never messed with taking this apart. But that's what I get for leaning on what somebody else said. Lesson learned. I won't do that again. Next time I'll make sure I look into it myself. Anyways, want to make this video to spare somebody else the drama of removing the intake manifold to replace the, thinking it's an easy knock sensor replacement and it's just 1 little bolt and you're just going to get to it 1 2 3 and it's an easy intake and put it back. Not the case on these Audi A3s. Not the case at all. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good night.